हरे कृष्णा। गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकायै तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय श्रीरूप रघुनाथ पृष्ठाय भूतले। हम आरंभ कर चुके हैं। नमो विष्णुपादाय श्रीरूप रघुनाथ पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय आचार्य सिंहरूपिणे श्रीमद्भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती नामिने। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ एछै गोसाई करी चरण वंदन जहाँ हेते विघ्ननाश अभीष्ट पूरण आजानुलंबित भुजौ कनकावदातो संकीर्तनय कपितरो कमलायताक्षो विश्वम्भरो द्विजवरो युगधर्म पालो वंदे जगत प्रिय करो करुणावतारो। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। भक्त्या विहीनापराधलक्षये क्षिप्ताश्च कामादि तरंगमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृंदे नमस्ते चरणारविंदम। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So first of all, I would like to unlimited dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my spiritual master Nityalila Parishtom Vishnupada Ashtotarshat Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and as well as I offer my same unlimited dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of Nityalila Parishtom Vishnupada Ashtotarshat Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj, Nityalila Parishtom Vishnupada Ashtotarshat Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to all Rupanu Guru Vargas, to all the personal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Radha Govind, and to all the devotees, those who are listening Srila Maharaj's glorification, our Guru Varga's glorification, and especially the devotees, those who are glorifying our Srila beloved Maharaj and all Guru Parampara. Today we are so fortunate. Personally, I am feeling so blessed, and I think everybody is feeling so blessed that we are welcoming our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and our Abhinna Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's very near and dear, our Srimati Syamarani Didi. Thank you so much for joining us, Didi, and thank you so much for accepting our request. So today we are so fortunate that Srimati Syamarani Didi, she will speak, she will glorify, and whatever she want to speak, whatever Srila Maharaj, Srila Gurudev and Srila Swami, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada will inspire her. We just want to listen from you, Didi. Thank you so much to join us. I don't want to speak much. Today I just want myself and all the devotees, they just want to hear from you. Hare Krishna, our dear Srimati Syamarani Didi. Hare Krishna, Didi. Now it's your turn, Didi.
Dandavat Pranam. The Mangalarti is already, Mangal Acharana is already beautifully said. So that goes for me too. And just to mention, Prabhu, you said I'm there near and dear. I actually want to become there near and dear, although I know I'm not now. But the great devotees are called Satya Sankalpa, means whatever they say, that's going to happen. So I pray that by your words, it may happen one day or one lifetime. So everybody present here, you all know Tattva, you all know about Sri Guru, Shakshat Hari Trena Samasta Shastri. All the scriptures proclaim that Guru is non-different manifestation from the Lord. When one's material existence is waning, at that time Krishna sends a bona fide Guru. And you all know about Nikunja Jorno Ratikela Siddhai. You know that Guru is Krishna's manifestation of his roop, that is for the Diksha Guru, and Shiksha Guru is manifestation of his Swarup. So that's all of that, of course, is about Srila Bhakti again, Bharti Gosvami Maharaj, my exalted Shiksha Guru. So some of his individual characteristics, traits, which I know all of you also have experienced so many times, is that he always looks like he's watching a TV show. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated that the pure devotee always has a TV, like a TV in his heart, because he's always seeing the spiritual world and the pastimes there. But you could actually see Srila Maharaj watching the TV show, because he's like that. And sometimes when we try to talk to him, he just keeps watching his show. Like one time, we were in Jagannath Puri, and there was a big group of us, but somehow I was a few minutes before the other devotees. And so I asked him, like, exactly what are you doing when you give us prasadam? Because those who know him have experienced that when he gives class, he gives prasadam after his class. If he's not giving any class, if he's giving a darshan, he gives prasadam throughout that. If he's not speaking at all, he just gives out prasadam. So I asked him, what exactly are you doing when you give out prasadam? And he kept looking at his TV show. And so Sundar Gopal Prabhu was there. So he translated that maybe Maharaj doesn't understand what I said. So then Sundar Gopal Prabhu translated it to Hindi, and he still watched his TV show. So I was bewildered. But then a couple of minutes later, the whole group came in, about 20 devotees. And so then he said, I have been asked, what am I doing when I give out prasadam? He was intentionally waiting so that he could tell everyone at the same time. What I'm doing is, I'm taking away all your anarthas, and I'm giving Krishna prem just by his giving Krishna prasadam. I asked him several prasadam questions at different times. One time when I asked him, he said, you don't know if Krishna is accepting your offering of bhoga. You don't know if he has eaten it, even though you or some other devotees have said the mantra. But when the pure devotee hands you prasadam, this is amazing, whether or not it was first offered to Krishna and then given to the pure devotee to give out. Just by his giving it out, it means that Krishna has already eaten it. One time, I said to him in a mood of complaining concern, that is when, after the disappearance of our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta, Narayan Goswami Maharaj left the vision of the world, and there were new gurus manifested. So I expressed to Srila Maharaj that I'm concerned that I don't know if I should honor this food, because what if the new gurus, any of them aren't pure devotees? Then how will it be prasadam? So Srila Maharaj explained that it really depends upon the sincerity of the offerer. And then, of course, today is the holy Titi of Raghunandan Thakur. So he told the whole story of Raghunandan Thakur, which is that his father, Mukunda, was going out of station for a couple of days, and he asked his young son, Raghunanda, to take charge. And so he didn't know any mantras, he wasn't initiated, but he sincerely believed that Thakurji was really Krishna. And so he said, please take. But he didn't see anything happening. So please, and he started crying. I know I don't know any mantras, but can't you please take, or my father will be angry with me? And then that boga disappeared. You know the story. And his father came home. Where did the prasadam go? Went in Krishna's stomach. And then the father sneakily watched the next time. And he actually got to see what Raghunandan Thakur saw. So that was Srila Maharaja's reply to that. That regardless, it depends ultimately on the devotee's sincerity. One time, he was giving out prasadam to everyone. Then he decided that I want Madhavapriya Prabhu to give out the rest of the prasadam. So I was totally unsatisfied. I don't want prasadam from his hand. I want prasadam from your hand, I was thinking. So then he said, prasadam from his hand is prasadam from my hand. So I learned so many good new things about prasadam. Now, also, I was with him, Vasanti and I were with him in Pune, and he wasn't going on morning walks at that time. He was going on afternoon walks. And somebody had gotten him a little, like a tiny beach chair, a folding one. You can just put it down and sit. So he would walk and sit and walk and sit. And so on that day, having my crazy mind, I was feeling very, not only ungrateful, but critical of my assistant, Vasanti, who was my right leg, right arm, brain, everything to help me go on with my service. But I was criticizing her on that day, on the walk, in the association of the pure devotee. So when Srila Maharaj sat down, having heard my mind, he immediately said, Nityananda Prabhu is most grateful, even if someone does a very tiny service. And he told the same katha that Srila Gurudev told, which was that there was once a barber, and the barber was going on his way to a wedding or some occasion on the other side of the forest. So now he's walking through the forest, and he had all of his barber things with him. And so he saw a lion. The lion was kind of lying down, looking very listless and sucking his paw. So when he went over to the lion was so busy suffering that he didn't do anything to the barber. So the barber took out all of his instruments and he put some medicine on the paw, took out the nail that was ever in it, and then bandaged it up, and then went away. And sometime later, that barber was framed for a murder that he didn't do. And so he was sentenced to come to a big stadium where that same lion was in the cage. And that lion, they made the lion very hungry. So the idea was that the lion would come and eat up the proposed murderer. So that lion came towards the barber, and as soon as he saw the barber, he recognized him. And instead of eating him, he licked him. So then the government knew, well, if the lion's not going to punish him, why should we? And they let him go, understanding their mistake. So Srila Maharaj showed me my mistake exactly that was the time I was thinking of my complaints. And he told that story just to remind me of my fortune and how grateful I should be that even a lion can be grateful, so you should be grateful too. And Nityananda Prabhu is always grateful for a very small service. He was always very quick, knew what to say on any occasion. Like once we were sitting in front of his room in Mayapur, and he has this long veranda, and at the bottom of the veranda is a bunch of steps. So there were so many devotees who came to have his darshan at the appointed times that everyone was sitting on the veranda, and then they were sitting down the steps, reminisce, and then they were sitting on the sidewalk next to that, reminiscent of the Chiptrai ceremony of Raghunath Das Goswami and Nityananda Prabhu. It was so crowded that some were sitting on the platform with Nityananda Prabhu, some on the grass, some on the sand, and some no room. They sat in the water and the shallow Ganges to honor their Chiptrais. That's what it reminded me of every darshan. So one lady asked him that I've been hearing so much from our Srila Gurudev, but still I feel like I'm not making advancement. So Srila Maharaj replied quickly in a snap, if you're not following his instructions, then you're not hearing. Hearing means to follow the instructions. On one of my first times that I met Srila Gurudev, Srila Maharaj, it was in, I believe, Parganj in Delhi. And I was asking him about our different sanghas, that is his sangha with Srila Bhakti Ballabhtirtha Goswami Maharaj and our sangha with Srila Gurudev. And I said, now that our Gurudev has left, because we're having a relationship with you, would that mean that automatically us, our sangha, would have naturally more of a relationship with your sangha, with Srila Bhakti Ballabhtirtha Maharaj? And it seems like different institutions. So Srila Maharaj replied, actually, the two institutions are one at heart. There's really no difference, but only for management is there a difference. And that also reminded me of the time that I asked him that, okay, Guru is one, they don't contradict each other, but yet I see that your sangha is starting Kartik on Ekadasi, and then we're starting under the guidance of our Gurudev on Purnima. So that's a different instruction. So he said, and this is the same thing that reminded me that that was the same thing I had read in our Guru Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion in the chapters about Guru Tattva, that the principal teaching is the same, but there may be some difference in detail, not in detail of philosophy, but in detail of structure. So then Srila Maharaj explained that these are just management affairs. They have nothing to do with the heart, the mood, or the philosophy. So I was happy with that. So on the first day that I really had any conversation with him, Srila Gurudev's guard, that is Shivananda Sen Prabhu, who many of you know, he was always over glorifying me. And he said, would blurt it out with, Syamarani did so much service for Srila Gurudev and editing and publishing his books and painting for his books and temples, and for Srila Prabhupada for so many years. She did so much service. So Srila Maharaj flatly, bluntly replied, oh, that's nothing. if she would be able to do Nam Bhajan, I would say that's something. So that was on the first day. When I also bluntly said to him, you know, I'm hearing that you're a pure devotee, okay, but I have no attraction for you. I don't necessarily have a desire to be with you. Now, how about that for aparad? I was so attached to our Srila Gurudev. I met him 15 years after Srila Prabhupada's apparent departure. And I went with him all over the world, wherever I was allowed. But I don't have that desire with you. And he gave the most fantastic answer. He said, you don't have to have any affection for me. You don't have to be attached to me, because your guru is everywhere. He can manifest everywhere in his books, through anybody. So that was such an amazing answer. And he expanded on that, of course, that I started to become attached to him. And then exactly on the next, like it was the next day of the next year. And I said to him, so I'm remembering what you told me in Mayapur last year. This was now 2013. He said, I've been serving our Srila Prabhupada since 1966 and Srila Gurudev since 1992. And I did all I could within my capacity. I met you about a year ago. And since then, I've been thinking about you more and more and become attached to you more and more. So I'm wondering what's happening to me. Am I going crazy? What is now my relationship between my Guru Maharaja, Srila Prabhupada, and my Gurudev? Like, is it increasing? Is it decreasing? What can you tell me about Guru Tattva here? So he replied that it's said that Guru Bhakti has to be one-pointed, must be one-pointed. So I want to know, is my Guru-nista going elsewhere? Am I improper? So then he asked Madhavapriya Prabhu to speak, and that he would tell if he agreed. So Madhavapriya Prabhu shared, and I think many of you know this history, that he was serving his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, for many years, but also in his last days, just like he was one of the main servitors of Srila Gurudev in his last days. So he was doing that for his Guru Maharaj. And Srila Gurudev was coming to visit and giving him directions, instructions. But one of his instructions was, so you should serve him very nicely, but as soon as he departs, you must come to me immediately in Mathura. And that's what Sripad Madhavapriya Prabhu did. So then he was serving him and traveling with him and working on his books. And so one day they were in Delhi in Purni Prabhu's, many of you know her, house where Gurudev often stayed. And now it came the time for Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj's Vyasa Puja Day. And Madhavapriya Prabhu was so busy that he didn't have time to even think about it, or to speak of do anything about it. So Gurudev reminded him, it is your Gurudev's Vyasa Puja Day, that night. Yes, but I'm serving you and I'm so busy. So Gurudev said, okay, you're going to do Vyasa Puja now. So can you get me a picture of him? So he couldn't find any pictures, but Purnim had a book with his picture in it. So Gurudev put the picture facing out on his lap, which also meant on his heart. He said, okay, now worship. And that's exactly what they did. And Gurudev was showing him that if you worship one bona fide guru, then all the gurus are included in that. Then he started asking hypothetical questions. One, he said, who was Ramchandra Kaviraj's guru? So who was it? Srinivasacharya. But who did he live with? Who did he stay mostly with? He stayed mostly with Krishnadas Kaviraj. Stayed mostly with Narottam Das Thakur. And in Narottam Das Thakur's kirtan, he said that I want the association of Ramchandra Kaviraj. And that was also strange because Ramchandra Kaviraj was like his Shiksha disciple. His Diksha guru was Srila Srinivasacharya, and his Shiksha guru was Narottam Das Thakur. But Narottam Das Thakur is praying for the association of Ramchandra. So how is that? It's because he didn't see guru and disciple. He only saw Ramchandra's Vaishnavata, and therefore he wanted his association. Then he said, what about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami? In Vrindavan, he was ordered by Haridas Goswami, the pujari there, you must write about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You must write Chaitanya Charitamrita. So then he also got the blessings of the Vaishnavas, other pure Vaishnavas, at the Madan Mohan temple. But before that, he decided that the Guru's order must be followed without any consideration as soon as he orders it. But he wasn't his Diksha Guru. He wasn't even his official Shiksha Guru. What was he? He was a pure Vaishnava. And Srila Maharaj was explaining to me that all pure Vaishnavas can be considered as Guru. So if any of them give an order, you can consider that it came from your own Guru. So then he went to Madan Mohan temple, and he got the blessings from the other Vaishnavas. And then he prayed to Madan Mohan, and he said, don't worry, you just look like you're writing, and I'll dictate it. So Maharaj was so powerful, he could just very easily change one's entire life paradigm. He said, in the kingdom of Bhakti, there's no consideration that this is my guru and this is someone else's guru. And then also when I was now I'm in Miami, when I was in Alachua, Vasanti and I used to arrange with, I think, Sundar Gopal Prabhu, arrange initiations with Srila Maharaj on Skype. And so once there was a husband and wife who were rejecting their particular guru, but they still loved Srila Prabhupada, but they were worried that, and they asked him on the computer, so what happens if I take initiation from you? Am I cheating on Srila Prabhupada? So he explained the same thing to them, that when you think of any bona fide guru, your Shiksha guru or any pure devotee, that immediately gets accepted by your Gurudev by Srila Prabhupada. So again and again, he did the same thing. And he's so nicely powerful that when he's on computer, he was really there for the initiations. In Mexico, Santi and I organized some initiations. And, we had the computer on a table, and the devotees were singing Shri Guru Charana Padma. And they were throwing the flowers at the computer, and it was landing on the motherboard. So Maharaj turned to Madhavapriya Prabhu, who's over there, standing with him, and he said, "Oh, they're throwing flowers?" And then he threw the computer into the room in Mexico. He stunned all the devotees with his blessings, putting out both hands on the computer. Then he concluded that Guru is such a personality, like Krishna, because he's the manifestation of Krishna's root and Swarup, that he can manifest anywhere through any devotee, manifest anywhere, even without the pure devotee. So why, then he asked, hypothetically, why did Krishnadas Kaviraj go to the Madan Mohan temple? Why didn't he go to the Radha Govinda temple, for example, established by Srila Rupa Goswami? So Maharaj answered his own question, because Madan Mohan is the Sambandha, the deity of Sambandha, or establishing one's relationship. Without establishing a relationship, then it never can come to priti or love. So he established, or through Madan Mohan Thakurji, who was dictating, he established that first you establish a relationship, and then comes Abhideya, what you do in that relationship, and then that's Govinda, and then comes to Gopinath, the lover of the gopis at the end. So I said to him, it's amazing how much beautiful help you've given me, that in Mayapur last year, you told me that what I'm doing is nothing, no significance. And although I was very affected by your words, I couldn't follow you very well. I remained on the super fast train of editing and publishing, trying to avoid the fact that there was nothing inside. Traveled all around the world, but gradually, as I grew older and older, but traveling as fast as before, it all caught up with me, and then my health failed to the point where it didn't bounce back anymore. So I know intellectually now that I must concentrate on the name. So I didn't say I could do it. In fact, I'm telling him that I can't. But so he's saying, because he's very encouraging, and even when he's smashing, that's also encouraging, because sadhu means to cut. So as he's speaking, like if I speak, it's just gonna, okay, thanks, just words. But when sadhu like Srila Maharaj speaks, it cuts out all things that don't belong. So he said, "Oh, I'm delighted to hear that you have a desire to chant. Not delighted that you can't chant. I'm delighted that you have a desire to chant. All other seva, other than chanting, is not real seva. Chanting and thinking of the pastimes of Krishna and his associates, and doing manasi seva, that's real seva. The other sevas, the external sevas, can be considered real when they're accompanied by pure chanting. Otherwise, they're not real. He said, we did so much, or you did so much seva, but it is not justified. It won't be justified until you can identify with the holy name. Then he told the story, he's full of stories. So then he told the story of Madhavendra Puri. What was he doing? He was only chanting. And how rich was he? Was he rich? So I said, well, not externally. He said, yes, but his holy name chanting was sufficient. And he was chanting so purely that Krishna himself was compelled. He likes to use the word compelled. Krishna was compelled to come to him with a pot of milk. And he said, I heard you're fasting. How did you know I was fasting? Well, some of the village ladies, they were collecting water at Govindakund, and they noticed that you're fasting. So they sent me, my mother sent me to bring you this milk. So drink the milk, clean the pot in the middle of the forest, clean the pot, and then just wait, and I'll come back and pick it up. So, he's never mesmerized or enchanted by anyone in the world, but he found himself enchanted by this boy. So when he was dreaming that night, dozing off and dreaming, the boy came to him and said, so I am the owner of this place. I am Gopal, the coward boy, and I want your service. I want you to take me out of this forest. I've been here for hundreds of years. I was hidden by your devotees when the Muslims came. And again he wanted more and more. And I want a bath. I want abhishek. I want clothing. I want a room to sleep in. Demanding and demanding and demanding more. And he had no money. But by his devotion, everybody came to help. And so then he got this big temple, the big rich merchants came, the walls came up, and for his temples, the gates, everything came. And then later on, as you know, and then because of his Nam Bhajan, he was actually able to see Gopal eating the boga and then it disappearing when nobody else could see it. And Srila Maharaj quoted, Te sam satitajaktanam. That is, one who's devoted to me with love, I give him the understanding. So just a note about me here in Miami. I'm always praying to Krishna every day. Please tell us what to do. Please tell us if you want us to get a bigger temple and where it should be and how to serve you. And want it in the city so that people can come, blah, 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 praying. And you think I'm hearing anything? I'm not hearing anything. I think I may be, and then I changed my mind. No, that couldn't be it. But Madhavendra Puri, pure devotees like him, everything they do is directly guided by Krishna himself. Even in Goloka Vrindavan, when Mother Yasoda is chastising him, calling him names, when the gopis are calling him names, that's still coming under Krishna's desire of how to serve. I'm going to tell more and more, but it's going to be so nothing of what I really experienced over those years. So then I told him, he said, the reason that you're finding yourself not advancing, and here goes the dagger, the reason you're finding yourself not advancing is that you were serving with a motive, with a selfish motive for profit, adoration, distinction, or name, fame. So when you're serving without any motive, then you'll develop quickly to love of God. So then I told him, well, then I'm helpless because my mind goes everywhere and I don't seem to be able to stop it. can you please empower me to chant? So, of course, everything that Srila Maharaj did was an empowerment because his words cut away. But he just went back to his same point. He said, if your motive is to please Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, then the time will come that your name chanting will come automatically into your heart without any effort. He said, here's the thing, the gopis, they were selfless. They are selfless. They'll forever be selfless. So when Krishna had a headache, they were not afraid to go to hell so that Krishna could be cured. You all know this pastime. And they were illiterate. They didn't know how to read. But these big rishis, they were big Shastric scholars. And when Narada went to them, can you please give the dust of your feet to cure Krishna's headache? They said, no, because Krishna's God. I'll go to hell. So this is the difference between selfish and selfless service. Gave another example where because of Nam Bhajan, Krishna gave the intelligence. And he said, Govinda, you know Govinda, the personal servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would massage him. And so one day, Mahaprabhu was lying at the doorway. He couldn't go in the room without walking over him. So Govinda put a blanket over Mahaprabhu, and then walking over the blanket, he came to the other side and massaged him. But then he just sat there, and Mahaprabhu said, why are you just sitting there? He said, because I don't want to walk over you. So Mahaprabhu said, but you already walked over me to get to this side. So he said, well, that was for service, but just for myself, I'm not going to walk over you. So how did he know that? He knew it because of his Nam Bhajan. Tesam Satatijaptanam. And then he said very encouragingly, I think every one of you knows the tap example, right? The tap. So he said, even if you don't see that you're making any improvement for a long time, but you're keeping on going as best as you can, he said, even if we don't see a difference, still something is happening. You're getting impressions, and only after a certain amount of time will those impressions be felt by you. And he gave the example of the tap. That is, the tap isn't working properly, so the water, one teeny drop of water, is coming blip, blip. And then, if the tap is not fixed for a year, then all of a sudden, there's going to be a hole in the ground under the tap. So he's asking, did that hole come from the last drop or from the first drop? It started with the first drop, but it wasn't seen until the last drop. So you may not see yourself making any advancement. In fact, I'm very happy that you're expressing that you're not making advancement and you're grieving over it, because that itself is a symptom of bhakti. Otherwise, if you're thinking, I'm so advanced, I'm so something, instead, like a bottle of water, when it just has a little bit of water, it makes a lot of sound. But then when it's a full bottle, it doesn't make any sound. So I am something comes when there was a little water in the bottle. Then he said, who's a perfect example of this? Mahaprabhu. Prem Gandosti Darapi Me Haro. Oh, friends, you should know that I have not got the slightest love of God, because Oh, but you say that I'm crying, so maybe I do have it. Well, you should know that the reason I'm crying is just to show off how advanced I am. But if I was actually advanced, then I would not be able to maintain this insect-like life. I would be like a fish out of water. But I'm still going on in this world, in this body, without seeing Krishna, who plays a flute to his lips, and I'm still going on with this insect-like life. And they weren't just pretending. So, since I wasn't well, he said, there's no need to focus on external service. It doesn't matter if you have no money. It doesn't matter if you have no health. Nothing matters except that you fully think about Krishna, and there's no impediment to that. Just like there was a fat woman. You know, he gives the same examples a lot, so I'm sure you know the example of the fat woman. The fat wife, she was so fat that she could hardly move. But she loved her husband so much, and she told her maidservant very specifically how to do everything for her husband. That is, put his shoes over there by the door, otherwise he won't be able to find them in the morning. And make his bath exactly this way. The mother, who loves the child so much, knows exactly how to make the bath, or maybe just bathe with a cloth, but she knows everything. So similarly, the fat wife knew everything. She was doing real seva. And the maidservant, because she was just getting paid, she wasn't really doing service. She was just on a business to get paid. So that's Maharaja's example of what real service is, based on love. So I said, well, okay, so you said do Manasi Seva, which is fantastic if I could do it, but my mind goes all over the place. I can't concentrate on Krishna's pastimes, or what to speak of imagining myself, not even imagining, but what to speak of meditating myself in those pastimes, which is Manasi Seva, like Raghunath Das Goswami. And he said, God will help you. I said, but could you also bless me that my Nama Ruchi will increase? And he said, I'm always blessing you because you are sincere to follow. He didn't say because you're following, because you're sincere to following. In other words, he would give the encouragement and the dagger at the same time. Very few people are following sincerely. He didn't say that was me. He said you're desiring to follow, and following sincerely is a whole other thing, and it's very rare. So we close the darshan by his saying, so in my understanding and by my experience, your attempt is sincere because you remembered my words in Mayapur, which is that you're doing nothing. So that was a very sweet and I'm trying to still make it transformative. Then another time, I met him about the art book. I think some of you are familiar with that giant art book. Srila Gurudev had ordered me in somewhere between 2004 and 6, and then repeated the order again and again. That, you know, ISKCON has these big coffee table art books. So I want you to have an art book of all the paintings that you did for Prabhupada and all the paintings that you did for me, all in one book. So I had previously asked Srila Maharaj at different times how to understand the, Guru is one, but sometimes the instructions that I would get from Srila Prabhupada in relation to art was different, or apparently different, than what I would get from Srila Gurudev. Like, for example, Prabhupada never stopped us. He never said, don't paint peacock feathers on Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Ram, Lord Vishnu, whereas Gurudev was very particular about that. No, only when you're painting Krishna in Vrindavan does he get the peacock feather. And Prabhupada told us to paint Mother Yasoda golden, where Gurudev said, and this is quoted in Shastra as well, that Mother Yasoda is blue. So I have full faith in both of them, but I don't know what to do now. So at that time, before the art book meeting, at that time, Maharaj said, they're not giving you different instructions. They're giving you the same instruction, but through different lenses. For example, by tattva, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Keshavadrita Sukara Rupa. So by tattva, all the other incarnations are non-different from Krishna. So no harm if they can get the peacock feather. But by ras, vichar, consideration of the pastimes, they could never have a peacock feather. Even Krishna and Dwarka, who met the gopis at Kurukshetra, was not allowed to have one. The gopis said, if you want to come back, if you want to be in our heart, if you want us to have you in our heart, then you have to come to Vrindavan, but you have to take off that, you have to put on your peacock feather and take your fleet. So he said Gurudev was considering on the basis of pastime and Prabhupada on the basis of tattva, and also because of their moods. What the pure devotee sees at a specific time, that's what he says. So I said, okay, then what was the time that Prabhupada was said to paint Mother Yasoda golden? What was the time that he, in his pure mood, saw Mother Yasoda golden? So Srila Maharaj said that sometimes when Mother Yasoda is waiting for Srimati Radhika to come and cook for Krishna, and she wasn't coming, she was late. So Mother Yasoda would become in anxiety, and she would walk out of her house, into her house, out of her house, into her, and she was so absorbed in Radharani's coming that she also got the color of Srimati Radhika. That was that one time. So, but then, now it's the time that came that I was going to make the art book. I mean, I was working on it for years, but now is the time that it had to come to a conclusion. So I said, okay, now though, so even when I was putting Prabhupada's paintings, what I did for Prabhupada into Gurudev's books, I made adjustments, or I worked with a computer graphics person to make adjustments. Like if Vishnu had a peacock feather in the painting I did for Prabhupada, if I was putting that in Gurudev's books, I would take out the peacock feather. But now, both Prabhupada and Gurudev are going in the same book. So what should I do? So Srila Maharaj replied, however it was with Srila Prabhupada put that, because I know he called him Swami Maharaj, whatever was in, you did at that time, do that. Whatever that you did with Srila Gurudev, of course he said, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj put as you did for him. So then that's how we did the art book that came out, as it was and as it was. Another thing that Srila Maharaj said when I was saying that they have different instructions sometimes, rare, but sometimes, only about the art though. So he said, you may learn in a particular grade of school that the sun rises at a certain time and the sun sets at a certain time, depending on the time of the year. But then, when you go to your next class, you'll find out that the sun never rises and never sets. It's always there. So both are true, but they appear differently so that we could have different perspectives. So we said to see the so-called difference between Prabhupada and Gurudev's instructions in that way. So one thing that I wanted to touch upon, this was a very emotional time for me in 2015, because I was already in love with Srila Maharaj. I was in love with Gurudev, Prabhupada, and whatever I knew of pure devotees. And then the devotees, I was in Vrindavan. I didn't get to go to Jagannath Puri in 2015 when the devotees from Gurudev Sangha had a darshan with Srila Maharaj. And as you know, Srila Maharaj sometimes would speak in English and sometimes he'd speak in Hindi, and then he'd have a translator. So what came back to me in Vrindavan is that, okay, for most of the philosophical things, Srila Maharaj and Srila Gurudev say the same thing, but in this particular aspect, they say entirely different things. Well, okay, so they differ in that. Some of them thought, okay, I have to lose my faith in Srila Maharaj because this is a big point and it's different from Srila Gurudev. And some thought, it doesn't matter, it's just a small thing. So I'll still have my faith in Srila Maharaj. But me, I just got so upset because I thought, if he is different in this significant point, then how can I have faith in him? But how can I not have faith in him? Because up till now, everything's been fine, so from 2012 to 2015. So I decided I have to find out for myself. So me and Vasanti went to Chandigarh, where Maharaj was. And I went in his room, I offered my obeisances, and I didn't say anything, but I was thinking in my mind, looking right at him, you have to help me with this. And so then, so I went on my path of discovery. So I heard the tape, the sound file of that particular darshan, which demotivated and discouraged several of the devotees, disciples of Srila Gurudev. And I saw, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I got demotivated for a minute, but I thought, no, it can't be. Guru is one. So I decided to, and I asked some of the devotees there, they said, it's all right, just this one thing, but I wasn't happy. So I asked one of the brahmacharis to type a transcription of the Hindi. So we had the exact words in Hindi. And then I asked a few people to translate from the Hindi transcription. And then I became happy. So then we wrote an article for the internet about that experience. So later on, when there's this big, I haven't even told you what the issue was yet, but later on, there was a big issue happening, a big controversy amongst big leaders, big world spiritual leaders. And Gurudev, to me, Gurudev, Prabhupada, the whole Guru Parampara was on one side, although other people who were on the other side interpreted them all wrongly. And yeah, and so the issue was this: is the Swarupa of the Jiva inherent, or does it come by association? and sanskars that you gradually pick up by association. So by getting the translation of the exact transcription in Hindi, I completely understood that Maharaj is saying the same thing as Gurudev Prabhupada and so on. So then several of the devotees got together, not because of Srila Maharaj, but now it was a bigger international controversy. Is the Swarup of the Jiva inherent? That is, were we, quote unquote, born with it or created with it, even though there's no creation or birth? But was it forever, or did it come by association? So I went to all the places where, to this book, Swarup of the Jiva, and I went to all the places, sometimes physically and sometimes just by the sections of the book where Srila Maharaj is speaking. And one time was in this very visit in Chandigarh. So I'm going to read the question and so we have an original relationship with Krishna, meaning an original Swarup. Is it already there, or is it given by Guru? So Srila Maharaj answered, no. The specific relationship is there from the beginning of your life, meaning the beginning of your creation, meaning forever. And Guru only clears the sambandha. Without the grace of Krishna, in other words, having a dormant, eternal relationship with him, we cannot be alive. We cannot live. We become dead. But your Swarup was in a dormant state, and it was opened by Guru. That was one of the conversations in Chandigarh at that time. This was December of 2012. And then another section, Srila Maharaj said, this was in December of 2015. Yeah, this is when we went and poured our heart out. So he said, this is 2015. That's when he gave the darshan in Puri. That was in July. Now we're coming to December. If Bhagavan is eternal, and he's saying such deep things in such a simple way. I brought one of Srila Gurudev's disciples to see him in another temple just for darshans. And after the class, when we were going to collect our prasadam, the devotee said, he's saying the simplest things, but with such realization that it just changes you, like you're not your body. So anyway, he's saying now, if Bhagavan is eternal and his servant is eternal, then the servant's service is also eternal. If the service is not eternal, how can the servant be eternal? Therefore, all three are eternal. It is natural that because Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas, he has invested different jivas with different tastes. And by nature, the jivas are attracted to their own rasa and nothing else. And Krishna is also attracted only to the service that soul gives with his rasa, to nothing else. A person who has a certain rasa from the quote-unquote beginning will never have a taste for any other. Like Mother Yasoda knows that Krishna loves Radharani the best, but she doesn't want to be like that. She's happy to be his mother. Depending on the rasa of the devotee will engage in that service only. And the Lord has a taste only for the devotee's performance of that service. Then, another statement. This was from July of 2015. Whatever power Krishna has given the soul at the time of the soul's coming into existence, that is the soul's real swarup. Then in Jagannath Puri, this was the one that was originally confusing, but then it became not confusing. Everyone is das, a servant. A devotee in Shanti Ras is a servant. A devotee in Dasi Ras is a servant. A devotee in Sakhi Ras is a servant. And one in Madhurya Ras is also a servant. As a father and mother, they serve. Aren't they servants? They pick up the slippers of their child, just like a servant does. They wash the clothes of their child, just like a servant does. And they bathe their child. However, even though they perform the same activities as a servant, there's a difference. And that difference is the difference in the amount of mamata. The relationship is different. The love and affection of the mother is much greater and more condensed than that of the servant. The mother's service is permeated by the mother's love. How much warm water or cold water should be given? Thus, das, or servitude, is always present in all the rasas, but according to the intensity or depth of love and affection, according to the mamata, a sense of possessiveness, the rasas are differently known. An example may be given of milk. Milk is milk, but to the extent that it is boiled, and in what way it's boiled, it becomes rubbery and so many other sweets. All these preparations are milk. The original and principal substance is milk. The names of these milk products change, but the milk remains milk. Similarly, common to everyone is that we are all servants, eternal servants of Krishna. Jiver Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. The opposing party interpreted this phrase that everyone's a servant of Krishna. Tatasta Shakti. Tatasta means you can decide which way you want to go. But we know from Jiva Goswami that tatasta means you can go up or down. Not, well, I like this one. No, maybe I like that one. So the swarup of the living entity is that he's an eternal servant. Then, another interesting question by Sri Prem Prayojana Prabhu. He's asking Srila Maharaj, Srila Jiva Goswami has discussed, some people are trying to rip apart the disciplic succession. Jiva Goswami is different from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many crazy things. So Prem Prayojana Prabhu is asking, Srila Jiva Goswami has discussed Jiva Tattva in the Sandarbhas, particularly in the Paramatma Sandarbha. There, he has not described any Vaisista or speciality between the Jivas. They're the same. Yet, we see in the writings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that every living entity has an individual potential for a specific relationship. At a certain time, when the potential will mature, a certain relationship becomes manifest. So how can we reconcile and understand these two presentations? I have full faith in the perfection of Jiva Goswami and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They're both exalted Vaishnavas. Everything they write is perfect. So what to do? So Srila Maharaj replied, he was always so sure of himself, and naturally so. They are not writing a different thing. They have expressed the same thing in a different way. From the point of view of the category of Jiva, that is Jiva Tattva, All jivas are in the same category. They're all eternal, by nature full of bliss and knowledge. They can never die. That's common to all, correct. They're all servants of Krishna. But when you consider Ras, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya in the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, each ras is a development of the other. In other words, each ras contains the component of the previous rasas. And you find that, as with any perfectly pure, perfect guru, Srila Maharaj is the embodiment of Shastra. Whatever he says, we can find in Shastra. And here he's quoting, he didn't quote, just said it, but that's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about one rasa being the development of the previous one. So the commonality is in dasya, but then there's a speciality in ras. Let's take the example, he said, of a mango. He's still speaking to Sri Prem Priyojana Prabhu. A bud is called a mango. The mango then becomes a small fruit, then a big fruit, and then a completely ripened fruit. All the stages are called mango. And still we experience that the subsequent stages include the previous stages. They're all mango, aren't they? Just something came. What he just said, he always says, bahut mushkil hai. Like, oh, it's so difficult to understand. Still, we experience that the subsequent stage includes the previous stages. In this way, we should reconcile the perspective of Jiva Goswami, what he explained, and then he quotes Krishnadas Kaviraj and Bhakti Vinod. Thakur all saying the same thing. That's the nice thing about the bona fide members of our reciprocal succession. They won't separate it. They show that everyone is saying the same thing from the Vyasdev down.
बड़ा मुश्किल.
Sorry?
बड़ा मुश्किल.
Baha mushkil.
बड़ा मुश्किल. He used to say again and again, बड़ा मुश्किल.
Bada mushkil. No. Okay, so then, again, he's speaking about the same subject, and this is the previously confusing one in Jagannath Puri, 2015. Whatever power, oh, we already read that. No, we didn't read that. Whatever power Krishna has given the soul at the time of the soul's coming into existence, that's the soul's real swarup. Shastra relates the history of Hridaya Chaitanya and his disciple Dukhi Krishnadas. And, you know, people who are trying to separate, they say that when Hridaya Govinda or Hridayananda understood that his disciple went to Jiva Goswami, he became very sad and envious. So bogus, we're just so lucky to have come in the right line by causeless mercy. Shastra relates the history of them. Hridaya Chaitanya was in Sakyaras, and his disciple was in Madhurya Ras. Was he sad about this? No. If the disciple excels the Guru, will the Guru be unhappy? No, he will not. Murari Gupta came in contact with Mahaprabhu and his devotees who were worshipping Krishna in Madhurya Ras. He was instructed by Mahaprabhu to worship Krishna in Madhurya Ras, but he was unable to do so. So Mahaprabhu then showed him his form as Ramchandra, that he was very pleased and was only testing him to try to get him to change. Unlike Murari Gupta, who was already realized in his swarup, and thus could not be swayed, even by Mahaprabhu, there are devotees who externally seem to be fixed in a certain ras, but because they weren't realized in it, they were able to change. Like who? Like the Venkata Bhatt and his brothers and his son. So they were able to be changed because even though they were realized in Madhurya Ras, they played the role of just following Lakshmi Narayan by tradition. Now, this is the heavy one that I really loved best. Many questions come, and actually, I'm thankful to so many people like Madhava Priya Prabhu, who helped me see Srila Maharaj so many times, and the same thing with Sundar Gopal, and also the translating. Sundar Gopal Prabhu translated this one. Many questions come. There is one question that comes again and again. This is my favorite one. Because we are not qualified and we are not able to comprehend or understand, then confusion arises. Sometimes we hear that someone inclined in Dasyaras comes to Madhurya Ras, as in the life of Gopal Bhatta and his family. And sometimes we hear that the Swarup does not transform, as in the case of Murari Gupta. Why do these two truths sound different? It's because we don't take darshan of the scriptures from a neutral point of view. Sometimes even by listening to the explanations, we cannot digest the contents. Bhagavan has 5 rasas within him. This is particularly seen in Krishna. Ramchandra, Nrsimha, Varaha, and so on do not have all the rasas in them. If Bhagavan is eternal and his servant is eternal, then the servant's service is also eternal. If the service is not eternal, then how can the servant be eternal? It is natural that because Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas, he has invested different jivas with different tastes. And by nature, they're attracted only to that ras. Bhagavan has created all rasas in such a way that those who have taste for a certain ras will not have taste to serve in any other way. So here's the funny part that I like best. We are the lowest of poor beggars, and yet we are asking questions about the price of a ship. How much is that ship? When we become qualified by sadhana, then we can understand all these truths. This is not so easy to understand. Once we follow, we become more and more qualified. Again, follow, without motivation. And these truths become easy to understand. Then he quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavunai Shavanari Shuddha Chitte Koraye Udai. Majjalila 22. Pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts. And then the other party says, no, that's not what it means. It means something else. We're happy with the pure devotees' translations. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. So Maharaj's commentary, in this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the swarup of the jiva is fixed. It doesn't change. When it is sometimes stated that the swarup may change by association, that is external. It simply means that one's inclination towards a particular swarup may change, not the eternal swarup itself. Shyamananda Prabhu is an example of this. Here's an interesting question. One devotee named is Radhika. She asked, this is in Chandigarh. If one is a Ramdas, if we preach to him about Chaitanya's teachings, he won't change his swarup, right? So Maharaj replied, both. And then the people get confused. Oh, both. That means you could say that it happens by association, but it doesn't. It can change and it may not change. That also can be taken as confusing. So let's see what it means. So many devotees served the Lord like a friend and changed to Madhurya Ras. They changed. So many examples are there Shamananda Prabhu changed. Meaning, if someone associates with Krishna's devotees in a general way, but his actual swarup is that of a Ram Bhakta, then when he reaches a certain point in progression in his service mood towards Krishna, Krishna will arrange that he'll immediately be picked up and put in Ayodhya to get Ram Nam. This is from, now I'm quoting Srila Gurudev to support what Srila Maharaj is saying and explain as one as well. The Gopal mantra is one. And by that Gopal mantra, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya will develop in accordance with one's swarup. So that Gopal mantra, Sing Krishnaya Govindaya, is for several rasas. By chanting the Gopal mantra at the appropriate time in the development of that sadhak's chanting, Krishna will arrange everything for him, such as sending him to Ayodhya and so on. This is from one of Srila Gurudev's Vilapkus Manjali classes. So it is dependent on the sincerity. Now I'm going back to Maharaj. It is dependent on the sincerity. If you like to serve in Madhurya Bhakti, you can serve, but your interest in Madhurya Bhakti will manifest when you have connection with a Madhurya Bhakta. That's the point there. If Shamananda was inclined to Sakyaras and then quote unquote changed to Madhurya Ras, his inherent Ras, so Shamananda was inclined to Sakyaras at first, and then he quote unquote changed to Madhurya Ras, which was his inherent Ras. So he didn't really change. That's how it's possible to change if you haven't reached your inherent Ras yet. And then you associate with a pure devotee who's an ocean of the mood that is your swarup. That makes sense? Okay. And it was by the grace of Radharani. Radharani lost her ankle bell, and Shamananda found it and gave it to her. That same Radharani gave the Shamasundar Vigraha to Shamananda. So it was all arranged how he would come to his natural position. Okay, one more from Chandigarh. This is December, when I was coming to the end of my quest. I'm getting more and more satisfied. Question. You mentioned that although it is true that a mango seed can only produce a mango tree, an apple can only produce an apple tree, sometimes a fruit may at first turn out sour, like a grape tree is supposed to produce sweet grapes, but it may produce sour grapes at first. An expert gardener, so the question is quoting Maharaj, an expert gardener may then come and by some process turn those sour grapes into sweet grapes. What do you really mean by that? So he replied, Shamananda Prabhu was first in the state of a sour grape, meaning that in the association of Sri Hridaya Chaitanya, his inclination was towards Sakyaras. The same personality who was supposed to be in Madhurya Ras later met with a devotee in Madhurya Ras who turned the sour grape into a sweet grape. What a sweet reply. And this is the very last one. Hope you're not getting bored to death here. Okay, so where are we? All right. This is also in Jagannath Puri, 2015, which was originally confusing, but then turned good. We got a fantastic translation. Question. Although we have heard that Sri Guru gives the seed of bhakti at the time of Diksha. We have also heard that the Jiva is Nitya Krishna Das, an eternal servant of the Lord. Is the seed actually given by Guru, or is it already present within the Jiva? So Srila Maharaj is answering. While it is correct to say that Sri Guru gives the seed, the true purport of this statement is that the seed is already present, but it has been kept in a place where it can never grow. If you have a seed in an Elmira, is it going to grow? No. You have to take it out of the Elmira and put it in the ground. Then the seed could turn into a tree. Similarly, Sri Guru reminds us that we have the wonderful seed of Krishna Bhakti in our hearts, and he teaches us how to nourish it by engaging our entire body in seva. He instructs us to hear Harikatha with our ears, to clean the Lord's temple with our hands, to speak the Lord's glories with our tongue, and so on. By properly and sincerely following the process given by Sri Guru, the seed of bhakti will sprout, grow, strengthen, and eventually bear the most wonderful, sweet fruit of Krishna Prema. Because of our karma, we are stuck in this material world. Therefore, we need to do sadhana under guidance in order to be released from here. By doing sadhana, we can go towards our goal. We can only achieve our goal by the association of devotees. If we associate with devotees in dasaras, we will acquire their mood. If in sakiras, we will acquire their mood. If we associate with devotees in vatsalyam ras, we acquire their mood. So whatever ras we are attracted to by our constitutional nature, we should associate with that type of bhakti. Bhakta. We should associate with a sajatiya devotee, meaning the devotee is an ocean of the mood which is in our constitution. Go Premanandi. Srila Bhakti began Bharti Gosvami Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Didi. Thank you so much. It was very sweet remembrance. I wanted to discuss many things and wanted to ask you many things. First thing I wanted to ask you that as you mentioned one past time that you were chastising Vasanti Didi and Srila Maharaj. So you asked Srila Maharaj about that? Oh,
That was the amazing part of it.
yeah.
That I didn't have to know. You read my
Can you
mind.
please remember it again?
So I was criticizing Vasanti. I criticized her both externally and internally. So I was doing it that day. I forget why, probably no reason. And then, as I said, she's my right arm, left arm, brain, leg, everything. But in my conditioned neophyte demoniac mind, I was criticizing him. So then we went on a walk with Srila Maharaj. He would have not morning walks, but afternoon walks through the streets back to the temple in a big round circle. And he would walk, sit on this little tiny beach chair, I guess you could call it. And so as I was criticizing her in my mind, he stopped and sat and told the story of the barber and Nityananda.
Oh. So he didn't ask anything. He told everything by his own. So one more thing particularly I wanted to ask Didi. When someone took Diksha from some spiritual personality, so then he or she built some relation with them. And after their departure, then like it happens with you, it happens with us also. After Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he left this world, and you were you had that some connection with him, na? Him, you got Srila Gurudev's association. So I think I wanted to ask that disciple always try to see his Gurudev in some other spiritual personalities. Like you try to, I hope you try to see Srila Prabhupada in Shri Gurudev. Am I clear?
Yes, of course.
Like some language problem. My English is not so good.
No, it's
So,
perfect.
so when Srila Prabhupada depart from this
I
world,
didn't have to try to see. I just saw. But I also
okay,
asked Gurudev at that time that
okay,
that I'm a little nervous about hearing from you and following you. I'm wondering, this is the very, very beginning. I'm wondering if our Srila Prabhupada is happy or sad about that. So that's when we were going to visit Gurudev in Mathura, and he and Naveen Krishna Prabhu at that time, Srimati Maharaj, was going on a bus. And I thought, I've got to find out this answer. So me and whoever I was with ran at the speed of mind and jumped on the bus just before it left. And he and Srila Gurudev was sitting on a seat. There was no more seats. So we sat on the ground, on the floor of the bus, right near his seat. And I told him my doubt. And he said, all he said was, why? I have got no material desires. That means I'm on the same level as Prabhupada, and I know what he wants. And also, Srila Maharaj, I forgot to mention that the first time when I told him that I have no attraction to follow him, he said, I know your Gurudev, meaning Srila Prabhupada, more than you do. That was also a very, very powerful thing for me. So yes, with Gurudev, gradually I experienced the oneness of both of them. And he said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gurudev came to give an Arpitacharing Charat, the Madhurya Ras in the service of Radharani. But I've never heard that before. So I looked up that verse in Prabhupada's books and saw that he's saying it in many, many places, that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. But I never saw it until Gurudev pointed it out. So then I saw it everywhere, sometimes in different words, sometimes in a different language. Gurudev was saying in the Bengali, Rag Marg, and Prabhupada was saying spontaneous devotion. But gradually I could understand that there's no difference between them. I asked Gurudev in Los Angeles after a lecture in his Los Angeles temple. You say that Guru is one, but in this very one lifetime, I've had two. So how do I understand that Guru is one? So he said, Krishna is one, but he manifests in many forms during the Rasidan. And Guru is a manifestation of Krishna. So like that. Does that help?
yeah. Thank you so much, Didi. Amrish Prabhu, Lavang Didi, if you want to say something or want to ask something to Didi.
But I know you already know the answers that you're asking me, Sanjay.
I wanted to clarify. Like someone asked to Srila Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and you explained it very nicely that it's all about management part. They all are same, but the difference we see in this world, it's all about the management part. So we were discussing this in our previous session, I think with Basanti Didi. So someone asked to Srila Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Goswami Maharaj that how it is possible that we see differences in transcendental personalities. It is okay to see differences in some material personalities, but how it is possible they all are transcendentals. So how it is possible that we see differences, different ideologies between transcendental personalities? So very sweetly Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj replied. He said that, oh, Krishna went for cow grazing, and whole day he did cow grazing, and at the evening he returned to Nand Bhavan. Now what Jashoda Maya wants? She wants that my boy is very tired, so he must take prasad and he must take rest properly. So Jashoda Maya wants that Krishna must take rest properly. But on the other side, what gopis want? What gopis want? They don't want to. So like gopis want that Krishna should come immediately towards. He should not sleep. He should not sleep. So one side Jashoda Maya wants that my boy is too tired. He must take rest properly. And on the other side, the Braj gopis, they don't want to let Krishna take rest. They want Krishna should immediately comes to us on the bank of Jamuna. So the Srila Bhakti Sridhar Goswami Maharaj said that it is really differences or what how you reconcile. And I think one of your god brother asked this question to him, Srila Bhakti Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. So he replied very sweetly. So you remind his words to us that it's all about management parts. But both of them, the Braj Gopis and the Jashoda Maya, they both side they just want to please Krishna. So this is the beauty of our Rupanu Guru Vargas. Although they all are same, some differences we see. This it's all about management part. So you explained it very sweetly. I wanted to ask many things, but I think time is running late, and it's very late in Miami where you are. So if
No,
Amrish Prabhu,
it's late where you are, early where I am.
oh, I don't know the time difference, Didi. So if Amrish Prabhu, Lavang Didi, and Sundar Gopal Prabhu, if they want to say something, and so please.
Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Sundar Gopal Prabhu, are you there?
I'm
That was
there.
a
Nothing from my side. I'm okay.
How it is possible? Nothing from your side.
I
Syamarani
think
Didi remind us so sweet pastime of Chandigarh, Pune, Delhi, Paharganj, many things.
I think because he's aware that she's getting late, she needs to also rest her voice.
No, but we are on the Gopi's side, Didi.
That was a beautiful explanation of Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Didi, I just wanted to quickly say this. I know that your time is precious, especially with your health and your unbelievable schedule as usual. And
I
actually curse myself that I no longer possess the fortune of interacting with you as freely as we used to 4 years back. But I'll be quick on this, that your darshan, that through Naam, through Seva, revelation, Spurti of Naam will manifest. This darshan which you spoke about.
Are you blessing me
was-
that will happen?
Yeah, this was, I believe, first year after departure of Guru Maharaj that we were putting up remembrances of different devotees. Homages. And this was the first darshan perhaps you sent us. And I still remember to date what profuse impact it had on me personally.
And me.
And so much so that this year, during Guru Maharaj's Tithi at Mayapur, I spoke from that darshan of yours. And I just remembered one thing, that Guru Maharaj used to say that a mother wants to teach something to the daughter-in-law. But the relationship being formal, she chastises her own daughter. And by the virtue of chastising her own daughter, she is giving lessons to the daughter-in-law. So although the chastisement came to you, because you are sincere and more intimate, Guru Maharaj took the liberty of externally chastising you or instructing you, wherein the instructions were meant for all of us who could not take that chastisement head on. This is my realization of it. I think it was I don't know whether I met Bopadev Prabhu this March. He had come to Vrindavan. Was it you who introduced Bopadev Prabhu to Maharaj?
There's a I'm not sure. I remember.
Okay. It could be someone else. So Bopadev Prabhu was saying that someone was going on and on and on about Bopadev Prabhu's services to Maharaj. He's done so much of book distribution, so on and so forth. And Maharaj heard it all. And this is Bopadev Prabhu telling it to us one-on-one. He said, Maharaj just said, in spiritual life, no introductions are required.
Oh,
So although Shivananda same Prabhu was introducing to you, Guru Maharaj knew what report card you're carrying of the sincerity and the services that you have rendered to Srila Prabhupada and to Srila Gurudev. And not only this darshan, but we are blessed by the virtue of your sincerity. Countless darshans with Gurudev in his Walking with the Saint series, that you had 3 names in spiritual life. One, Jadurani, then Syamarani, and then Question Rani. And because of your Question Rani, and because of your sincerity, we have been benefited. Just like Guru Maharaj used to say that when Sanatan Goswami was blessed by Krishna with that Giriraj Shila, where he could circumambulate that and get the benefit of circumambulating Govardhan, was the benediction only for Sanatan Goswami Pad? But for the rest of the generations who will come along, by the virtue of Sanatan Goswami Pad, they derive the benefit of taking the Giriraj Parikrama by circumambulating 4 times. So we are the, what can you say, trustafarians who are benefiting from your sincerity. So we thank you for that.
I appreciate your kind encouragement to this fallen, useless soul. Thank you.
Thank you for your books, especially Didi. Walking with the Saint is an amazing series, and that reminds us so many sweet pastimes, teaching, and everything about our beloved Srila Gurudev. Thank you for your services. Thank you so much.
I never started yet. Please bless me that I can start.
Also, there are so many transcriptions because Syamarani Didi with her team
Yes, yes.
transcribe every day katha, every day on the world tour. And there are so many transcriptions, Didi, which we don't have an audio for anymore. So if you had not transcribed those, we wouldn't have had those kathas because there are no audios of those transcriptions. But anyway, that aside, another one of your interactions with Guru Maharaj, which left a profound impact on both of us, is that example that you gave in that same darshan. I think, was it in the same darshan which you were talking about, when you're asking Guru Maharaj, what is happening to my affection to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev? And he said about the garland. Was it in that same darshan that it's like Akhanda Guru Tattva is like a garland strung with flowers of the individual personalities, and if you break the garland anywhere, by either offending, then the whole parampara takes the offense. If
And
you
the garland breaks.
Yay.
yes, yes.
That's my bouncer coming.
That was really profound.
I remember Gurudev said that also because they were, the members of a certain institution were criticizing him. And that's when he also used the example of the garland, that the whole thing is broken.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your kind words.
Vasanti Didi is reminding us to say God Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Namo Namaha.
Syamarani Didi ki jai ho.
Ram Rani Didi ki jai.
All of you ki jai ho.